In today's video, I'm going to give you some pointers on how to make your men's haircuts a little bit easier. I am just trying to make a men's haircut easier on you, and you might not have thought of these tips. First, most men's haircuts tend to use a clipper. Clippers are fine, but you don't have to go out and buy those big clippers. Get yourself one of these. I love this. This is called the Peanut. I know it's cute, but it is a small sized clipper. Okay, that's my number one tip. Second tip is the size of your comb. To make it easier on you, get yourself a smaller comb. That's so you can get around those ears really tight and cut those sideburns really tight. Also, smaller shears, okay? Get yourself some 5-inch shears. More detail, I could get around the ears. Smaller scissors, smaller comb, smaller clippers, small. If it's a short haircut, smaller the tools. Same with pixie cuts too. Get yourself a 5-inch, 5.5-inch pair of shears, a small comb, good to go. Also, this is last but not least. You have to know the curve of the head. You have to know where to stop on the head with your clippers. General rule of thumb, find that O-bone. If you are just starting out with that is where I would stop. Put your hand right there, and that's where I would make your clippers come off the head. This is a beginner safety net course. And the same on the side of the head. Find the round of the head, put your comb at the side of the head, put your finger right under there, and that's where your finger is going to live. And then my clippers are not going to come further than my finger. Then you're going to set your clippers down. You're going to edge out the detail. And then you're going to use your scissors to connect the dots. And that's a whole other video. Trust me, I'll have one on how to do a men's haircut the simplest way. All right, finally, a tutorial on a men's haircut. You guys have requested this time and time again. So first of all, I'm finding that O-bone with my thumb, and I am taking my Peanut with a number 3 guard, and I'm going up to the curve of the head. And see how I'm just coming off the head? I'm taking that and just rolling off the head. Don't worry about blending it up to the top yet. We are just going up to the O-bone, and everybody's O-bone is going to be in a different place. So you have to find that O-bone with your hand or with your comb. And if you don't know how to do that, I do have a video on how to find the O-bone. I will make sure that link is in here. But I am going around to the other side of the head. Sorry, you can't see that right now. And I am just making sure that I'm going to the O-bone. See where my finger's laying? If you need to bring it up just a little bit, go right ahead. I'm going to be turning him around, and I'm going just to the top of the ear, again with that same coming off the head. You see where I'm placing my fingers there? That's the curve of the head, the parietal ridge. And I am using my finger as a guide to not go past the parietal ridge. I do not want to go inward towards his head. I just want to go to the parietal ridge. And if you're unsure, point that guard straight up in the air. Straight up in the air. Straight up and round off. Okay, again, this is just a number 3 guard, not too short. And then I took my guard off, and I'm just cleaning up the edges of his neckline. One thing about a men's haircut, you got to get those edges clean. Okay, I'm moving his ear out of my way. I think on the other side you'll be able to see this a little bit better. Sorry for the blurriness, but don't be afraid to move his ear. Move his ear out of the way, and because the Peanut's so small, you can get into these tight little situations. So you want to edge around the ear, make sure you get all those little tiny hairs that sneak in there around the ear. And then I'm taking my comb and I am really making a sharp edge around the front temple part, because men's haircuts, they really like it to be cleaned up. Then I'm taking my comb and I'm doing a clipper over comb technique on his sideburns. Now you can also take like a number 1 or a number 2 guard on your clippers if you want to do that. Then I go around the perimeter of his hair and I just kind of tighten it just a little by putting my comb in there and then doing clipper over comb on just the edge of his haircut. That just makes it a little bit more crisp. Then I'm going around to the back and I step back away from this so you could see it if you're unsure, and make sure that you clean up his neck. A man likes his neck clean, okay? Make sure if he has hair that grows down below his collar a little bit, get down in there, because you don't want your man leaving the salon with hair sticking out under his collar. Then I'm connecting the other side, and I'm not really going straight across. I'm kind of putting a little bit of curvature to it. And here I'm just cleaning up those little tiny curls. Some men have the hair growth pattern it curls at the edges of their neckline. All you have to do is place your comb over it, comb it the opposite direction. I think you might be able to see it here. Comb it the opposite direction and then just do clipper over comb. Okay, here I am cleaning up the other side. Okay, see how that's those little curls. So I'm going around his ear, around his ear, around his ear. And you're really just cleaning up those little hairs. And it goes without saying that you want to do this on dry hair first. Okay, you always want to use the clippers on dry hair. Whether that means that you go and shampoo them first and then dry it, I never do that. I start with dry hair. I typically do the clipper cut, and then I go shampoo them to get all that loose hair off them, and then I typically finish the haircut wet so it's all clean and everything so I could style it. However, you could do the whole haircut and then shampoo them afterwards too. That works as well. Okay, I think I'm done with the clippers and I'm going in with my shears now, and I'm going to connect the dots. And this does get a little bit better camera angle on here, but what I'm doing is I'm going where my clippers ended and I'm going straight up the back of the head. Maybe not completely straight up. The back of the head, meaning from the above the ear to the back of the head, you kind of want it to be more of an angle, almost like a light bulb. You know how the light bulb kind of curves? From the O-bone, you want that light bulb curvature to start. So see that little hump there? I am connecting the dots, and stay tuned at the end of this. I want to show you a technique. Like if you can't get that completely smooth, I have a technique, easy breezy, that'll connect that for you. Especially on some like coarse hair, coarse thick hair, sometimes it's really, really hard to connect those dots. And so you need a little cheat sheet, if you will. Okay, so I'm just doing this to the top of the ear. Okay, I should have parted this off, but I've cut his hair so many times, I just kind of do it. And I really wasn't planning on recording this, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to record this. Okay, I'm going to the front of the ear, just on the sides, and see how I'm angling my fingers straight up in the air, straight up, perpendicular to the floor. Use the head if you need to balance your fingers, but I'm going straight up. So my cut is going at a 90 degree to the floor. Again, with a men's haircut, let me just tell you right here, I'm just cross-checking, going scissor over comb. If I see any little hairs that are sticking out, I just grab those, okay? But with a men's haircut, it's all about those straight angles. So at the parietal ridge, at the curvature of the head, you don't really want to round that at the front. You really want that to be squared off. That's the difference between a men's haircut and a woman's pixie cut. A pixie cut has rounded corners. A men's haircut has square corners. It just makes it a little bit more masculine. Now, can you deviate from that? Absolutely. You can round it, you could square it. I'm just saying these are the basic foundational principles of a man's haircut. Doesn't always have to be that way. It just makes it look a little bit more masculine to square off the edges. But on the back, it's a different story. See, the back, you want it to be that light bulb. You want it to be curvature. So I'm actually, if his hair was longer, you would see that I'm actually parting this in pie sections, radiating from the crown of his head. Except his hair is so short, you wouldn't be able to see that. But I am radiating almost like a pinwheel or pizza slices. If you can kind of see kind of where my hand goes, that's the top of his head. And then I'm just radiating around the back, connecting the dots. Just finding my guide, connecting the dots. And I'm rounding this part. So the back is rounded, the front is squared off. Okay, now I'm going to the front and I'm making my guide. So whatever the bang area, the fringe area, just make your guide. This is going to determine your length of your top. Take up that center mohawk section, connect that, and I'm using the curve of his head right there to connect it. And then I'm going to be holding it straight up. Sorry, you can't see this. My elbow's in the way. I did not realize this when I was filming it. I basically just set up my iPhone and filmed this, but I thought you guys might want to see this. It's a pretty simple haircut. Shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes to pull off with some practice. So I'm basically taking the hair from on top, from the parietal ridge to the top of the head. I'm making it all come to the center mohawk section and cutting it. And, oh, here I'm showing you a little technique. Got the peanut out again, and I'm just trimming up his eyebrows. So ask your gentlemen clients if they'd like their eyebrows groomed. Just do this as part of the service. It takes no time at all. It really does clean them up. I don't charge for this, but men will appreciate it because most people don't tell them that their eyebrows are bushy. So ask them, and some men might say, no thank you, but they might not even know what you're talking about. So you might have to explain it to them. And all I'm doing is putting my comb in there, and it's clipper over comb. And then here I'm just making sure that, because his hair part's so far over, I'm making sure that he doesn't have a comb over, if you will. So I'm squaring off that side of his head. Now here's where I'm going to show you that little trick I promised you. See that little tiny hump of hair? If you take your clipper with the guards off and turn it around, be very, 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 very careful. Tell your client not to even sneeze. Say, hold really, really still, because you could see where this could go really bad really quickly. If he jerked, sneezed, breathed heavy, you'd be etching his initials in the back of his head because you're not using a guard. And so basically I'm just freehanding any little hairs that I see sticking up. And see how clean that makes it? So I'm also doing this on the neckline too. But if you have somebody with really coarse hair and you just can't make it lay down, instead of going shorter and shorter, just do that. All right, now I'm going to show you how to blend his gray hair. And I'm using no ammonia color, which is a demi-permanent color. I'm using a level 6 double ash. And I mixed it with double 10 volume developer. So this is a demi-permanent. The thing about men's hair color, when you're blending their grays, they do not want to see gold in their hair, so you always want to use a demi-permanent, non-lifting hair color in the ashiest thing that you have, because men's hair does not grow out gold, okay? Their hair is too short to do that. Plus, they don't want to see roots, so you want a demi-permanent that just gradually fades off, and it blends very, very well. And see where I'm doing it on his sides, where the gray is, and I'm also doing his eyebrows. Yes, you could do eyebrows. Now, make sure your color's, safe to do that. They do make eyebrow coloring, but I just use what I have in my bowl. Because I'm not really covering it up 100%, I'm just blending the gray. He just doesn't want to look as gray as he is. And it also softens the hair too. So if he has coarse sideburns, it'll help soften those down. And then I'm just taking the leftover color and I'm just painting it on a few strands just to blend it, because he has blonde hair and this is a level 6 ash. So he turns blonde on top, but he's really kind of dark. His natural level's kind of dark. So here's the after shot. What do you think? It's blended the gray. It hasn't covered it up 100%. It's just blended it. It just makes it so his gray is not as white. And that's the finished product. If you have any other questions on a men's haircut, make sure you go check out my other video. Thanks so much for watching.